the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I'm, as ever, your host, Andy Davies, and we are here to preview Super Bowl 58. This one, it may be in one part, it may be in two parts. Either way, we've got today's episode as well as one recording tomorrow with two other Chiefs Niners fans in Paul Hope and Brad Symcox as we look forward to the big game in Vegas on Sunday as the Chiefs take on the 49ers. With me, I've got two returning guests, one from each side. First of all, we got 49ers fan Oli Hope from Third and Long podcast. Oli, how are you? How are things?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me back on again, Andy. I always enjoy coming on this podcast, but I think my fourth time this season. But, I'm looking forward to Sunday, but I'm also very nervous.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're going to hear a lot of people's sound bites throughout this episode who have been other guests on this podcast this year. And I think there seems to be more of a Chiefs heavy dominance than Niners, but you've got the team there, so I think this should be a cracking game. On the other side is our Chiefs fan. He came on, of course, last week. Back with us today is our Chiefs fan, David Figgins. David, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Always enjoy coming on the pod. It's starting to become a bit of an annual tradition this now, which I'm more than happy to oblige in. But yeah, I think as the week's gone on, I've felt more and more confident. If I'm being honest, I'm usually quite nervous when it comes to games of this magnitude. But yeah, I've been not necessarily confident, but definitely more relaxed than I've been in previous years.
Yeah, I can imagine. Unfortunately, the episode will start with a slight tribute to a friend of mine who did pass away just yesterday from school. So I just want to pay this tribute to Maddie Burford, who did pass away from cancer. I will put a link in the podcast episode description because she was a supporter of the podcast. If you want to donate to cancer research, that is all there for you to do. But we will move on to more of a happier note. This game itself, it's a rematch of Super Bowl 54. It's the number one seed in the NFC against the the third seed in the AFC. And it's another battle of the Chiefs and Super Bowl. It's been, what a 6 years it's been, David. I mean, you look at Mahomes, it's his fourth Super Bowl in 6 years. Still, his worst season as a starter is losing an AFC Championship game. He hasn't yet had a season where he's been knocked out before the playoffs started. He's never lost in the wild card round or the division round, and it took till 2 weeks ago for him to play a game on the playoffs in the road. But I think we've talked about enough in the past episode about how good that has been. But in terms of, we mentioned before about how good he's been, and if you compare it to maybe Brock Purdy, do you think Mahomes' Super Bowl experience? No, he's had last year's Super Bowl. I said it then, it's his fourth Super Bowl before the age of 30. Do you think that could almost help him more than anything else? Because we've seen a lot of, this thing is 16 quarterbacks in a row that have made their first Super Bowl and not made it back since. Look at Jared Goff almost broke that, but he's one of them. Jalen Hurts at the moment, Joe Burrow. The list goes on, and there's a lot of quarterbacks that never make it, whereas Mahomes has made four Super Bowls, I said just then. So do you think the fact the Chiefs have done it before, they have done it before and made it across the finishing line, do you think that's going to be almost as big of an advantage as maybe the actual players in the field?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. It's not just for Mahomes as well; it's just for the team in general. I've been listening to quite a lot of NFL podcasts and watching NFL Network and stuff this week, and there's quite a lot in and around the camp saying that it's been like a week 6 or 7 game, not necessarily as in the build up and the training, other than the full pad training has been more or less that type of build up, and it's that not just Super Bowl experience but playoff experience and routine playoff experience and that drive to be the best. Because obviously there's the whole talk about the dynasty, and then Mahomes has got his own records that he's chasing. He knows that, and he's sort of declared it himself that he wants to chase down Tom Brady in terms of rings, and he's not doing too badly in that regard. And just as a little caveat as well, with that little opener that you had with regards to Him only losing in the AFC Championship game is like the earliest he's been knocked out. Both of those games were in overtime as well. So the earliest he's been knocked out is overtime in the AFC Championship game, and experience is key. But also that drive that I mentioned before, the drive to be history makers, to be the best. I mean, I think is it all 3 or 4 the last time there was back-to-back Super Bowl winners? I think that, and then just the solidification of the Chiefs dynasty. I think it all of that amalgamates into the motivation around it. And like I've alluded to in previous podcasts, Mahomes will use anything to motivate himself and motivate his team, and that whole team is built around motivating themselves. I think what if we're talking about experience as well, one of the things that really makes me more confident is the rookies that we had last year that won the Super Bowl have got a full year's worth of experience, extra experience with them after winning a Super Bowl, and quite a few of them will have never lost a playoff game, and that in of itself shows that. I mean, it showed in the Super Bowl against San Francisco last time that the Chiefs are just never out. And we talked about, I feel like we repeat ourselves quite a lot when we talk on this podcast about the Chiefs, that you just feel like they're never out of a game. And that is, I think, what feels better this time is that that's on both sides of the ball. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well, you got to look at that fact that, you look at the Niners game a few years ago where you were behind for most of the game and then had that late comeback. You think about the Buccaneers game where you really weren't really in the game at all. And then even in the Eagles game last season, I don't believe you were ahead of the game until Bucker scored that what ended up being the game-winning field goal. So they've never really, for all their dominance and all their dynasty talk, they've never actually in a Super Bowl had any point of controlling lead in a game. And they've almost been in all those 3 games almost under the cosh. You look at obviously, yeah, they obviously lost against Buccaneers, but yeah, they seem to show tremendous fight and comeback spirit in those 2 games where you're 20 points 10 down in the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter. You look at the Eagles game I said before then that they're only really ahead in the final moments. So they seem to have done all this without really dominating games. So I think that is going to help them away because they know that they could be at their worst. They could be playing an absolutely terrible game, and 9 times out of 10, or 2 times out of 3, in my example just then, they've overcome it and won it. And in the end, they beat the Niners by 10 points in the end, or 11 points. So yeah, I think that will give them confidence. The fact that they know if they are behind, they know that they have the personnel, which hasn't really changed much. If you exclude Tyreek Hill, maybe Tyrann Mathieu, it's almost the same sort of set of players that was back in the 2019 season. So, yeah, I think that's going to give them huge confidence. But on the flip side, Ollie, mentioned before about the Chiefs having the experience, but do you think if you exclude Brock Purdy and McCaffrey, most of your best players were there in the Super Bowl in 2020? You look at Fred Warner was there. You look at obviously George Kittle was there. Deebo Samuel was there. And these players are going to still, I mean, I know George Kittle in the Mike Depp was talking about he's going to come back with a vengeance. Do you think that loss you had to the same opponents back in 2019 season or 2020 Super Bowl, do you think, Ollie, that the fact that most of these players and the head coach for that matter, they've lost the Chiefs and they've been ahead and lost a big lead. Do you think that's going to almost give them that inspiration to get revenge on the Chiefs for what happened? What's that? 3-4 seasons ago now?
Well, I hope so. I know there is that quite famous clip of Kittle saying, I will be back here and I will be back with vengeance. Obviously, Deebo was there. On the flip side, Bosa, Fred Warner, they're all there. Hopefully, the fact that it's against the Chiefs, again, will give them that little fire. I think I counted that there's actually 9 players on the roster now that were also on the roster in 2019. But the thing that gives me a little bit of confidence is actually the McCaffrey factor, because I think I read that the Chiefs have about the 28th best run defense in the NFL. And obviously, I think we have the best running back in the NFL. And I think that's pretty undisputed in Christian McCaffrey. So I feel like he could be in for a big game and I've actually had a little flutter myself on Christian McCaffery to win Super Bowl MVP. So I
Okay.
feel like we will definitely have to use the run game to our advantage. But on the flip side, Pacheco is also a very, very good running back. And our tackling and our run defense past 5 or 6 weeks has been also very poor. So I feel like it could be a big game for both running backs, and it could be a very run heavy game.
Yeah, I think that you look at the fact that I think the Ravens game, you look at really, I don't know what the Ravens were doing in that game in terms of I believe it was the first play off, not second play. They had a big, I think it was a 15-yard game from Gus Edwards, but apart from that, he had just a single digit carry since they seemed to abandon the run. And I think that obviously Niners aren't going to do that, and I think that has been one of the only real weaknesses in the Chiefs' defense is maybe that run defense. So I think when you got McCaffrey, I think even I think might be one of the best backups in the league in Elijah Mitchell. I think that's a great tandem, and I think you look at that, and I think for a team that not just them, but even Deebo Samuel goes through these kind of running kind of plays sometimes. So I think that's going to be, I think, the way the Niners can win this game. I think that defense, you've got studs on both sides. You've got Chris Jones, you've got Nick Bosa, you've got Tre'Davious Ward, you've got the Darius Sneed. You've got studs. I think defense, you could say, maybe is a bit even on the passing defense wise, but I think run defense wise, I think this is where the Niners can do it. And I think that we've seen a lot of teams, shout out Mike McDaniel, neglect the run when it matters, but I don't think Shanahan does this. I think if anyone's going to win the MVP, it's going to be him, because I think that's going to be their way they win it. I think McCaffrey, if he's on his game, that's how you win it. I think that as much as I want to give Brock Purdy credit because he has had two great comeback wins in the last 2 weeks, but it's another test for him, and I think that he's going to have to rely a lot on the fact of George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey, and I think that he is so key, and I think that's going to be ultimately how they win this game. And actually, while we talk about bets, actually, I want to talk about the odds I've seen floating around recently. I've seen 30-1, I've seen 66-1 on various betting sites. The odds on Chiefs winning the game and Travis Kelce proposing Taylor Swift after the win. I mean, for me, that's if they're going to win the game, I think that's easy money. I think it would be 6 months in. I don't know whether that's a bit too early. He might put her off by posing, but I think that's good odds. I think you take a punt on that, even if it's just a quid. You get 60 quid back or 30 quid back. Do you think that will happen, any of you, in this game?
I think they've been dating a lot longer than 6 months.
Okay.
I just think they've gone public now. I've seen 28-1 for that, but I don't see that happening. But I do think they've been dating a lot longer than the public has known about it.
Well, that is true. Anyone listening to this podcast, go to your respective betting company and make that bet today, because that is just putting £1 on that will be still a big profit. David, do you see it happening?
No, no, I don't. I think if he was going to propose, he'd do it. He'd do it more personally. I think. I think he's that type of hopeless romantic. I think he'd do it that way rather than in front of the whole world as a big show.
Do you think that? I think personally, I think it's a lock at this point. If they stay together, that is. Surely halftime show next year, Taylor Swift. I feel like if the way it's going and they keep dating and it keeps generating this revenue for the league and attracting the much more bigger audiences, I think it's gained something like 20 million more viewers because of her. I feel like next year it has to be her, right? In New Orleans, they may have someone New Orleans based, but I feel like that's an opportunity they can't really miss, especially if Travis Kelce is in the game as well.
It makes sense. It'd make financial sense for the NFL, but I'm a bit wishy-washy over the music, so I'm not really that bothered about it. But in terms of the numbers they would do, particularly if the Chiefs got there again, which there's every chance, the numbers that would do worldwide would be insane.
Apparently she was offered it this year, but she turned it down because she was in Japan and obviously wasn't planning on being there. So while we're talking about odds, I saw that it's 20-1 for her to make an appearance as a special guest in Usher's halftime show.
Who's Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Okay. My money's more on someone like either Ludacris or Justin Bieber. That's my sort
Yeah,
of I'm going with
they're,
this.
they're, they're favourites. They're
I,
like two or three to one.
Lil Jon would probably be the one that I'd put money on.
ooh, I'd like to see that. Bit of Get Low or something like that. That would be quite good.
I
Um,
I think he'll probably open with yeah,
do you reckon that would be the first song? I reckon that's going to
yeah,
be. Well, I mean, yeah, I can see. I don't really know many of his songs, if I'm honest. I only know a few. He also has Confessions, but I don't think that's going to be a great intro song. I think you got to have a
the
song
other
that pops off first to get the crowd going.
maybe maybe oh my god,
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it'd probably be Oh My God.
or
interesting.
DJ's Girls Falling in Love.
Oh, yeah, that's almost like straight down to business. We're off and running. Let's go, kind of thing. Good point, actually. Whilst we'll do one final talk about halftime shows. What do you guys think is the best halftime show you've ever seen?
This is actually quite a controversial one because we did this last year on our third long podcast, and I've actually put Coldplay's in number one.
That's a good one. The one with Beyonce, the one in San Francisco.
Yeah, the one with
Yeah,
Beyonce and Bruno
that,
Mars. Yeah,
that is a great one. That's in my top three, I'd say.
I think for me, it's just from a personal music perspective, it's the Eminem, Snoop Dogg,
oh,
Dr.
that
Dre.
one was so good.
Yeah,
Just,
that's my
just,
favorite.
just yeah, just from a music perspective, it's just. And then obviously you've got the classic Creed
Yeah,
one as well that just gets shown every single year.
yeah.
I also think Prince doing Purple Rain and it
Mm.
starting raining was quite iconic.
Yeah. I feel like that's the most iconic moment. I feel like I'm not the biggest fan of his music. I do like the song Let's Go Crazy, but I do think he's slightly overrated when it comes to his songs. But that moment, singing Purple Rain and the rain goes down, I think that will be I think it's always been seen as the most iconic moment in a Super Bowl. Um, I think Jackson for different reasons, but I think for me, I'd say I'd say it's my favorite is the Dr. Dre one because I'm a big 50 Cent fan, and when he came on as a surprise act, that was amazing for me. And I like Eminem as well, Dr. Dre. I'd say I think Coldplay, Beyonce, Bruno Mars is definitely my top three. I think other ones maybe Lady. I really enjoyed Lady Gaga's a few years ago. That was a good halftime show. I wish I was old enough for the Michael Jackson one because that looks really good when he jumps on the stage, and that looks amazing. Um, and I think the worst I've seen by far is the Maroon 5 one. That was
Yeah,
absolutely diabolical.
that was all. That was so boring.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I do hate the weekend's music, but that at least you can give him cut up the jib because he did have the lockdown thing to deal with, and it was a hard one to do. But and he did play a song I like in Blinding Lights. But yeah, that one was awful. The Move 5 one, terrible.
the other one that
The
sticks in
weekend
my
had the
mind.
Hall of Mirrors type thing as well, and that had so many memes off the back of that. So
Yeah.
I can only, and I'm like, I love memes. So the weekend's one alone was just worth it for the memes.
It's funny that you talk about memes because I always remember the Katy Perry one with hashtag left shark because the
Oh, the
left
shark.
the
Yeah, I was
left
going to mention
shark
that
not
one.
knowing not knowing what he was doing.
Yeah, no, that was that was something else. Actually, whilst we're on nostalgia, um, the best Super Bowl you've ever watched. I'm going to go first. I'm going to say Patriots Eagles for the scoreline over 70 combined points and the infamous Philly special play. I think for me that is, and also for me it's a game that made me from a casual fan to a diehard fan. I think that was the game when I realised you can actually watch an NFL game and get through the adverts. So for me, that always is the one that sort of has a special place in my heart. And also the Patriots lost, which as a Dolphins fan, I always love seeing. Um, what about you?
I'm
Any sort of Super Bowl stand out?
I'll take the one that turned me from a bit of a casual fan to the diehard fan, and that is the Patriots Falcons 28-3 game.
Yeah, that was
I mean, that
For
was just an incredible game to watch.
yeah. There was loads that went to bed. I know Dan Bent went to bed at halftime. It's the first one I watched in full actually. But I fast forwarded the advert. I watched it the next day. That was that. I think that is the most iconic Super Bowl moment, maybe apart from one other, which David might be going on to, but definitely one of the most memorable moments of this century.
Well, I almost went
I
to bed
think
at 24/7 last week.
Oh God, yeah, that was fun. Come back. We'll get on to that in a minute, actually. But David, final thoughts on Super Bowls for you?
it's got to be when the Chiefs won 154. or was it 55? Can't remember. Against the 49ers. Just from a personal perspective, I'd been a Chiefs fan for about 8 or 9 years at that point, and I'd mostly seen absolute rubbish. And just to see Patrick Mahomes justify all the hype and lift the Lombardi from a personal perspective, that was amazing. If we're talking about Super Bowls in terms of not from a personal perspective, I think the Saints Super Bowl was pretty special, particularly after the destruction of Hurricane Katrina. And it was nice to see Drew Brees finally get one. That one in particular definitely sticks in my mind.
Was that the one with the onside kick at the start of the second half?
Yeah, at the start of the second half,
Was,
yeah, it was.
I wish I watched that live. I wish I was an NFL fan at that point, or proper diehard fan, and I do the same thing with the Giants wins over the Patriots. I wish I was sort of that era when I was actually. I'd love to watch that live. That'd have been sensational. And yeah, Drew Brees for me, probably my favorite ever quarterback. He's one that got me into the NFL. So anything about Drew Brees is always good for me, and I'm sure that when the Super Bowl comes Miami's way, I'll be thinking of that probably more than the rest. Now let's get back to the game. Now Ollie, now I have to ask you because I'm aware that I'm going on to that Super Bowl. Actually, people were calling Mahomes Dan Marino at one point during that one against the Niners because they thought he'd be the one that wouldn't get the ring and all that. But he overcame that, and Brock Purdy is doing similar things. He's overcoming a lot of obstacles, whether that's also the whole Mr. Irrelevant thing keeps popping into people's mind. But you can't fault it. The last two games, he put up game-winning drives. So for you, Ollie, in terms of these game-winning drives that your team has had, is that we mentioned before Mahomes giving him confidence, the fact that he never really had a game where they've been in control of a game in the Super Bowl and they've overcome it. Do you think that almost the last 2 weeks has been better for the Niners because they've actually had to overcome adversity, overcome leads, and a particular line? Well, that was a real few moment, I'd say, in that one. That was the same with the Packers game. They could have really easily lost both of those games. So, do you think that's going to give the team, because when they reached Super Bowl and Super Bowl 54, they had a lot of quite easy games. The Packers game was quite comfortable. The Vikings game was comfortable as well. Do you think almost it's better for them now because they've had that adversity, they've had those games that they've had to come from behind? And do you think that will stand them in good stead come Sunday, the fact that they have done this in previous weeks?
Yeah, to be honest, I think we needed it because the one big knock on Purdy before the playoffs started was he's never had a comeback drive. If the Niners go down, then they're effectively already beat. But Purdy's proven that that's not necessarily the case. And like if you look at the Packers game, let's face it, for 3.5 quarters he was very poor, but then he turned it on when we needed it to. But the thing is, even if we're down, McCaffrey will probably have already scored a touchdown because it's like there's three things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and McCaffrey to score a touchdown. So we'll even if we're down heavy, we prove that we can come back to it through just handing the ball off to McCaffrey 100 times. I think Shanhan always says if he can run the ball 40 times, he's pretty confident we'll win a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing thinking about the trade that happened with the Panthers because look back at now, he basically swindled the Panthers, and I think it's made in the fact that that trade was so low because of all the injuries he had. But since he's joined the Niners, really he's had not really too many injury problems. Whereas when the Panthers, he had a good 2 3 year spell of just constantly getting injured, and I think that they're looking at it now and thinking, what have we done? Because and I get it because in the Panthers he was the bell cow, everything went for him. Whereas in the team now he's got all different weapons so he can spread out a bit more, and I think that has actually been the best thing for him. And also better coaching always helps as well. Now for you, David. Now this is obviously, we talked about the run game of the Niners with McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, but we mentioned before Pacheco is a great runner. He's a different kind of runner, I'd say, to McCaffrey, a bit more of a aggressive sort of runner, but he again has been fantastic. Him and Rashee Rice have been absolutely fantastic in this entire playoff run, but particularly Pacheco has been absolutely brilliant. And I think we mentioned it last week, and I think it's going to be the same again. Do you see him I think, we look at Kelce, Mahomes, they're going to be able to be the key. And I think when it comes to the crunch, they're going to be the guys that do it. And I think defensively wise, I think Chris Jones and maybe Chavis Ward are going to be the guys to, the Jarius Sneed are going to be the guys to do it for you. But I think you got to look at it again, and the way he's gone in this playoff run, Pacheco has to be guys to look out for thinking for like DraftKings points or betting or just to winning this game. He's going to be just as key, isn't he?
Yeah, I said it as much in the last pod when we were facing the Ravens that Pacheco would be one of the vital parts of the offense and the way that the Chiefs want to operate on offense. And you could see that he didn't necessarily have an outstanding game. I think he got 85, 89 yards, I think. But Andy Reid kept feeding him the ball, even though he was getting short yardage gains, just to commit to the run so that the Ravens had to keep that in mind and couldn't just drop back and cover everybody. And I think that's what I said last time, is that they needed to put pressure on Mahomes, and I didn't think that they were going to be able to do that with four. But also they had to think about Pacheco in the run game, and that was Reid's whole game plan of implementing the run so that we could do other things. And I think that's the same type of thing that Andy Reid's probably going to try that again or something similar. Although, as we know, Andy Reid off a bye week is probably cooked up something crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If it's Pacheco that beat us, that would be like a little dagger to my heart because he's one of my favourite players in the NFL. That's not a Niners.
He's such an angry runner. I love him to bits because he's just so aggressive, and he'll find a hole and just run. And it's like every day must be leg day for Pacheco because that's all he does is he carries people and gets those yards after contact. He's an insane running back.
Yeah, I feel like I need to get in contact with this personal trainer because I feel like I need some sort of leg day like Pacheco's to get my chicken legs to normal sort of size. Now, news came out recently, David, about Eric Bieniemy. Spoke to the offense the day before your AFC Championship game with the Ravens. I mean, I think that's surprising. I think it's a nice touch, but I was surprised considering he's a different team now. Obviously, you don't seem to have missed him too much since he's been gone.
There was definitely teething problems at the start of the season, and we obviously even at the end of the season led the league in drop passes, but Matt Nagy obviously knows the team and has taken a little bit longer to bed back into the team. The thing with Bieniemy is obviously his roots are still definitely embedded within the Chiefs, and I don't know what his situation is with the Commanders, but he's been overlooked for literally every head coaching job, and there must be reasons for that. Obviously, there's questions over things in his personal life, but yeah, I think the thing for me is the lead into the playoffs and the run that they've had going into not just, I think it was after the Raiders game, if I'm being honest, the Raiders game on Christmas Day, where the Raiders absolutely outplayed us, and I think that was when the reset button was pressed, and since then it's been impressive on both accounts, and it's not necessarily been a high scoring game in any of the games, but it's certainly been tough, physical, aggressive, pragmatic football.
Yeah,
Andy, I think you're the only one that had a good Christmas in terms of NFL, isn't it?
I don't know about that actually. Yeah, I had a good first 45 minutes when Jason Sanders kicked over the field goal, but yeah, since then it's pretty bad. The rest of the season was pretty bad after that. That was almost the last good moment I had of sports. Well, obviously NFL wise, yeah, that was that was a real false dawn. I think when he beat the Cowboys.
I had a great Christmas, and then it got ruined at the end.
Well, you're still standing, unlike most NFL fans. So I think that's the most important thing. Speaking of which, actually, we are running low on time on the recording. I'm just going to quickly get you guys' predictions. I'm going to save mine for part two, but Ollie, will stick with you for your prediction for Sunday's game.
Although I'm not that confident, I am going to go a Niners win. I'll say 37-31. McCaffrey to score 2 touchdowns and over 150 yards from scrimmage and to win Super Bowl MVP.
Good. That's a good prediction. I like that. David, yours.
I don't think it'll be a mega high scoring affair. There's not a single team that have scored more than 30 points against the Chiefs this season. So I think it'll be Chiefs win. I've been more confident of this than any other Super Bowl that we've played, that I've experienced as a fan. And I think it'll be 27-23 to the Chiefs.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's a great prediction, and I'm really intrigued to see what happens. I think we all know, if you listen to my previous podcast, we all know where I'm going. I am cheering on the Niners just because I don't like a team winning it twice in a row. Nothing against you guys. I like Mahomes. I like the team, but yeah, hopefully, Ollie, you're right, but I guess we'll see. But in the meantime, this has been the end of part one with Ollie and David. First of all, thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, thanks. Anytime.
Well, the pleasure's all mine, boys, and obviously we'll be getting you both on, I'm sure, again next season. We have only got one episode left. This is actually episode 100 of the series. So what a way to get that one done. But we are going to go on to part two in a minute. Before we do that, we're going to bring you some predictions via video notes, or video messages, I should say, from previous guests on the show, friends of the show, famous faces. So here's some predictions. First of all, with Love Island and Sky Sports, Josh Denzel.
Yes, mate. My prediction for this year's Super Bowl has to be, I can't argue against the Chiefs. They've been there, they've done it before. I think it's going to be one step too far for the 49ers and Brock Purdy. I think the Chiefs are going to put up 24, and I think they're going to hold the 49ers to a measly 10 points.
Hey everyone, it's Adam here from the Franchise Tag, and I have got my Super Bowl prediction for you for this Sunday's big game between the 49ers and the Chiefs. I'm going to go for the Chiefs win. I think that the one thing that we've learned in the playoffs this year is that whether home or away, you do not bet against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. The 49ers have struggled a little bit. They've given up points to the Packers. They've given up points to the Lions as well. And so I think this Chiefs offense and defense as well, that's been very good, is going to do enough in order to stop them from being able to really have much of an impact against the Chiefs. I think it's going to be tight. I don't think it's going to be a particularly high scoring game. I like 24-21 to the Chiefs. And one guy that I think you really need to look out for, Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco. I think he's going to have a great game. You saw when the 49ers played the Lions that they were capable of running not only out wide but also in the box as well. And so I think that the Chiefs, and definitely Pacheco, is going to have a great game. And Patrick Mahomes is going to be lifting that Lombardi once again.
Hello guys, it's Fletcher. Very excited for the Super Bowl. I can't believe the season's over already. It's gone by so fast. But with that in mind, I'm going to predict a 27-23 win to the Chiefs. For me, it's one of them. I'll never bet against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They just didn't know how to get the job done. And I don't think I can never bet against them. As good as the 49ers are, and as much as they're a better team than a few years ago, and it's going to be a much closer game, so I'm not counting them out at all. But I do think the Chiefs just take it home. But more importantly, I'm looking forward to a great game of football. Two high octane teams that are going to give us, I think, a full night of pure excitement. So I think more than anything, football wins. Football will win this game. Be well worth staying up for, and definitely don't turn it off before the game is definitely over.
Well, hello, it's Luke Campbell here. This time last year, I was getting ready to go to the Super Bowl in Arizona, and I've still got the memento from it. So last year, the Chiefs won, and actually, it was quite a bit of a shock to a lot of people, I think. I think a lot of people expected the Eagles to win. This year, a lot of people are expecting it to be closer than it is, but I don't think the Chiefs are the same team. Although you can't ever write off Mahomes, but I just don't think they're the same team, and I don't think they have the same calibre of offence, unfortunately. So I think that the 49ers are going to win. I think they're going to win by 10 points. And my prediction for the score is 31-21. And I've actually got money on it, so there you go. So that's how confident I feel. But come on, wish I was going to the Super Bowl this year right enough. Cheers.
Hi guys, Charlie Grace here. I've featured on the podcast earlier in the season. My prediction, I'm going to take Kansas City 28-24 over the Niners. Being a Broncos fan, once you lose 16 straight, you know it's never right to count the Chiefs out, and I think that Patrick Mahomes' magic will get them across the line.
Hey, this is Alan, big Dallas Cowboys fan out in Bedfordshire. Just thinking about the big game, and I fancy the team in red, Kansas City Chiefs. The love story continues. No one expected them to get here. Probably one of their wildest dreams to make it this far. A bit like last year. You know, they got Patrick Mahomes. He's obviously the best quarterback playing on the day. I think if the Chiefs need a bit of magic, then he's the man to provide it and get the win. If I was going to go for a score, I'm going to go 30 points to 22. Enjoy the game.
Hi Andy, thank you for asking me to put my prediction for the Super Bowl. I am generally looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a great matchup, a lot better than people are predicting it to be. I think it's going to be very heavily 49er influence, looking at what they went through on Monday whenever Mahomes or Kelce or any of the Chiefs players were on the stage asking questions. They got heavily booed. So I think that if that's the case, I think it could play in Kansas City's favour. And again, you can't go against Mahomes in playoff football. You know, he is in line to take over Tom Brady, in line to be the greatest of all time, have all the records in postseason, preseason going forward. And look how much that Chief offense has improved, and that defense is brilliant. You know, Trent McDuffie, Willie Gay, Chris Jones, Willie Snead and all that lot. You've got some great players on that defense side of the ball, and the offense has stepped up. Pacheco runs angry at the ground, love him. Kelce's found his form. Rashee Rice is now Patrick Mahomes' go-to receiver. MVS is now stepped up a lot of levels. So they are going to cause Niners a lot of problems. But then you've got that stacked Niners offense. You know, you've got Kittle, you've got Ayuk, you've got Debo, you've got of course Christian McCaffery, and Brock Purdy doesn't seem to throw the ball away. Doesn't make silly throws, doesn't make high risky throws. They are calculated risks, almost dare to say it, Tom Brady-esque, who would make very little mistakes. I did see a Madden prediction earlier on. I'm not going to go quite as high as that. I think I'm going to go for KC to win 33-30 with Harrison Butker score the last second field goal to win it. So pretty much like last season. But I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be end to end. But I'm going to Chiefs to win 33-30.
My name is Marek Larwood. I am 73% psychic, and my Super Bowl prediction is Chiefs 31, 49ers 27. I don't know why I did that in a robot voice, but it means it will definitely come true.
What's going on, everyone? Keg here, the Panthers Magpie. On location here at Anarchy Brewery in Newcastle, just finished filming episode 3 of the Magpie Channel podcast. Here to give you my Super Bowl prediction, and I'm torn with this one. I don't know. My heart is with the 49ers, here in my Christian McCaffrey jersey. Long-term fan of Christian McCaffrey, absolutely love the guy, and for me, probably best player in the league, my offensive MVP this season. Steve Wilkes as well, defensive coordinator, ex-Panther, and you can't forget Sam Darnold, backup quarterback over there in San Francisco. I love the 49ers. They've been my favourite team in the league for the last couple of years, even more so when McCaffrey went over there. So I'm rooting for them. I'm going to bring my red jersey out. I've got a Kaepernick jersey, controversial, but never mind. So yeah, I'm going to be supporting the 49ers, but my head says Kansas City Chiefs. That just in the early years of their dynasty, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, that is hard to beat. They're basically Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, the old school Patriots. I just think that's where they are right now. So, yeah, hard 49ers, but my prediction is a Kansas City Chiefs win.
And thank you, Keg, for your prediction for the game. We are now in part 2 of our Super Bowl 58 preview. And with me, I've got 2 OGs of the podcast, 2 regulars, pretty much with me since the start. With me today is Niners fans, first of all, Paul Hope. How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good, Andy. In fact,
you've used it. You've used
you could
slogan.
say I'm feeling super. There's a story behind that, Brad, and we'll get to that in a moment, buddy.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm hoping the story, the reason behind it, continues for the reason why. In the other end of the corner, in the more red and yellow more than red and gold corner, with me today is Chiefs fan Brad Symcox returning to the show. Brad, how are you?
Oh, I'm feeling villainous right now. I really am.
Oh, you are. It's amazing what a difference 4 years makes. I remember 4 years ago, exact same matchup. At that point, both teams hadn't won Super Bowl in years, but I was well on Patrick Mahomes' train at that point. I was really cheering him on, and I was almost to me the Niners were the villains because I thought they had more chance to come back than the Chiefs at that point. Fast forward 4 years. Yeah. I think it's the team. I couldn't think of anything worse than seeing the Chiefs win. No offense to you, but it's just I hate teams winning back to back. I think in any sport, I hate City for that reason. I hate just teams winning multiple. I like different teams winning it. I've never seen the Niners. I was aware of them in the Super Bowl years ago, but I've never actually seen them in my lifetime live the Super Bowl. So I think for that reason alone, more than obviously me and Paul's friendship, it's just for me. It's just I like seeing different teams win it, and I just don't want the same team winning again. I'm just bored of the Chiefs now. I'm sorry to say, Brad, I want it to be different teams. But if it was my team involved, I'll be loving it. So fair play. You got to.
I was going to say I used to be really hating dominant teams, but right now I don't know. I just feel I feel like I respect them a bit more.
Yeah, I mean it's everyone hate. I think in any sport you hate dominance. I remember hating Roger Federer years ago when he kept winning Wimbledons. Looking back at it,
Tiger Woods as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Federer's obviously a lot nicer guy than Tiger Woods, but looking back at it, I don't know why I hate it because I think in sport you want to have these figures that are like the greats. You think of like Tom Brady. That obviously that was, for me that was especially horrible, but at the same time you got to appreciate what he's done, and that's obviously you're witnessing greatness. I think it is the same thing as Mahomes, and I do feel that he is potentially going to be a top 3 quarterback of all time if he wins on Sundays. I think we've got to appreciate, we've got to appreciate what he's doing really and how he's doing it. Six straight years at AFC Championships, won 4 of them, lost 2 and lost those 2 in overtime. It's crazy what he's doing. Now I want to ask you boys a question first of all that I didn't actually ask anyone in the first part. Where you're watching Super Bowl now? I know where you're watching it, Paul. So Paul, for those who don't know and those maybe want to try and attend it, where are you watching the game on Sunday?
Yeah, so we have close links with the 49ers organisation, and they're throwing another official watch party for us. The connection with Leeds United may not be to everyone's cup of tea, but they're trying to get a venue in London after the NFC Championship game, and the message was there's like 48 watch parties in London. Wherever venue they wanted wasn't there. So we're going to be at the Centurion Suite at Elland Road on Sunday. 500 tickets were available. So I'm expecting 500. I say 500 faithful. I know there's a couple of Cowboys fans coming, and I'll get to that in a moment. But I'm looking forward to that one. And I just want to say before Brad answers, I wish I could hate the Chiefs, but I don't. And if you've tuned in tonight for any trash talking, you've come to the wrong show.
You've let me down.
I watched Brad and Keith on another show earlier in the week. Now, we'll get into it, Brad. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to come on the show and say, Mahomes is rubbish and Kelce is rubbish. But there's kind of a strange reversing roles. We were the villains 2 weeks ago against the Lions. The whole country want the Lions to win. So like you said, a bit weird coming into this one and people being like, we don't want the Chiefs to win because they win too much. I'll take it.
Now, Paul, I want to ask. I think I saw it was Lee Gallen or Flackers talking about this about the Leeds curse. Now, there's whenever I see you in Leeds, you lose these games. You think you can? I know you won last time. I think you had a watch party in Leeds for the Lions game, which almost was again another loss, which should have been really. Does that worry you at all? The whole Leeds curse at 49 Faithful UK?
Well, we can't control where the organisation put a watch party. I've seen Brad and the Chiefs do similar things. So it originated 6, 7 years ago. We have our group, 49 Faithful UK, and a few of us would meet up and watch a game. A few of us would meet up at the end of the season and watch a Super Bowl. And then obviously the Niners got the UK marketing rights about 18 months ago. And when your team you love reach out and say, all right, guys, can we work with you? Can we put on some watch parties? Now, the coincidence is every time we had a watch party in Leeds, we lost. However, Brad, every time we've had a playoff watch party in Leeds, we've won. Now, granted, we've only had one. I wasn't there because I had work and family commitments, but Lee Gowland, who's the president, my good friend, he actually hosted the event on the night. So not only were we there kind of like supporting the Niners all the way through, we actually kind of took control. And it's going to be something similar on Sunday. I'm not an alcohol drinker, so I've been roped into doing some interviews with 5 Live, BBC Tees, Leeds United at 10:30 on Sunday night. So I'm not quite sure, Brad, what they're going to be able to ask me because I'll have a set of headphones in and 500 people going mental. But we're taking over Leeds early on. We're heading into the city centre early doors. So if you're in or around Leeds, if you're an NFL fan, you're welcome to say hello. Head to the Head of Steam mid-afternoon. We're going to be there at about 7, 8 o'clock. And then we're heading over to Elland Road. You do need a ticket to come to the watch party. It's £11, but for that you get a free pint, you get some chips, I believe, and you get entry in. Now, the Niners don't usually charge for these, but we did say for the Super Bowl, most places charge. And the reason we did that is Leeds United fans seem to take advantage of these free tickets to sign up for them and then never turn up. So this way the charges meant the diehards are going to be there because, let's face it, 11:30 on a Sunday night, you're only going to be there if you want to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah, or you're a massive Taylor Swift fan. Maybe that's going to definitely draw people in, I think, this year. Now, Brad, of course, you are a regular in Super Bowl watch parties involving your team, but where are you watching it on Sunday?
Well, believe it or not, I'm going to be down the canal. I'm going to be at Liverpool, at the Albert Docks, the famous Albert Docks. We've got Arrowheads Abroad have put together a meet up there. It's not as many as what the 49ers faithful have got there, but it's good because it's a good, very close knit bunch of lads who go, well, men and women go, and we've been over to Dublin. We did that last year, and that was a fantastic night. So we just thought, you know what, let's meet up again somewhere and make it quite like equidistant to everybody else. And it turns out Liverpool was the choice. So yeah, we get loud and proud. We really do. Chiefs fans, we're very loud, and wherever we go. And honestly, we took over Dublin. It was only a small group. It was about 30, maybe 35 of us. But we really took over that. I think it was the Woolshed in Dublin, and I think we sang right through the night. So hopefully we get another kind of similar outcome this time, and none of us actually fall in the docks.
Well, funny you say that. I'm actually going to be in Liverpool myself on Saturday. I'm going to be watching Liverpool Burnley at Anfield. So two of the three of us are going to be in Liverpool that weekend. So that's coincidental that you're.
Come join us. You're going to have to watch us, Andy. Come on.
I'd rather not watch the Chiefs, to be honest with. I'd rather just.
Don't be like that.
If I've got to deal with Phil McCann gloating in my face, I don't want to have to deal with that in person. I'd rather be on Messenger. So,
See, I've got a double whammy. I've got Brad, who I follow on Twitter, and are you aware of the Chiefs Kingdom Live lads who are based out in the States, Brad?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Smug, Mr. Rogers, is a friend that I connected with many years ago.
Brilliant.
Ahead of the first Super Bowl between the teams, and he always reaches out about this time of the year. So I tuned into their show the other night. Cheeky plug out to them. They went on with John V, who runs the Locker Room Rant, who's a Niners fan, and you say trash talk. They did spend 2 hours digesting the game, but it descended into trash talk. But it's difficult, Andy, because we love the NFL. You're one of my good friends. You're a Dolphins fan. When you were putting this show together, you were like, you've got a Chiefs fan. I'm not going to lie. I was like, please, can it be Brad? I haven't done a show with Brad for ages. And then on Tuesday, when I saw you and Keith breaking the team down, I was like, this is brilliant. This is my homework all at once. I was like writing notes down. I was in the chat. And so, yeah, the only thing you didn't bring tonight, Brad, is your fire cabinet. I'm not going to lie, Puddy, when I saw the Lombardi trophy in your cabinet on Tuesday, and then hearing Mahomes talk about his Super Bowl week routine as if it's just something he does every single day. And I was like, yeah.
You're catching me now, right now, without any Chiefs gear on, which is probably very, very unusual for me because I'm normally dripping in the stuff. I'm normally I'm normally wearing a hoodie, or I'm wearing a jacket, or I'm wearing a hat, or I'm a t-shirt or something. You know, I've got something on me all the time that's Chief stuff. But this time, I don't know what it is. I think I've just felt as though I just wanted to be a bit more relaxed, a bit more calmer about it, because we're only a few days away now, and it's it's getting to that point now, isn't it? I don't know if you're the same, Paul. It's like you feel like the nerves are starting to jangle a little bit more now.
Yeah, we normally record our preview pod on a Thursday night, the 49 Faithful UK. There's the four of us. We moved it to Friday. I was in the office today. The missus texted me, "You've got a delivery. 20 Super Bowl programs have turned up," because I did a block booking with Stateside. So I'm taking them down to Leeds. Obviously got in from work, opened them up. And like I said, you're starting to kind of, I'm seeing more proper football content. The Super Bowl live stuff at the start of the week. The only bit I enjoyed was that little kid, Jeremiah. And when he interviewed Patrick and he was putting together his fantasy team, and Patrick kept picking the obvious players, and the little kid was going, "God damn it, Patrick, you picked my player." But now we're seeing real football news. We're seeing Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid. We're seeing the practice reports. And I am nervous. I mean, obviously, you're going up against the reigning champs. The pressure for me is on your side of the coin. We are the underdogs in my eyes. You know, weirdly enough, I was cheering the Chiefs on last Super Bowl, for obvious reasons. Make no apologies, Eagles fans. I was very happy that the Chiefs won. But obviously, I'm roles reversed this year.
Well, I'll do a shout out Finns Nation UK. Talking about UK fan groups, I'll be watching the game with a few from Finns Nation UK. A few being in partners, including myself. My girlfriend is coming, and despite popular belief, I do have a girlfriend. It is girls I'm interested in, which not everyone believes on socials. But yeah, that would be. I've never watched it in Cardiff before, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, it should be a great experience. But the game itself, of course, is Sunday. As mentioned in part one, it is in Las Vegas at the Allegiant Stadium, which probably kills a lot of Raiders fans having to see both the Niners and the Chiefs playing in their stadium in the Super Bowl. We talked about part one about both quarterbacks overcoming adversity to reach a stage. Look at Brock Purdy. First of all, Mr. Irrelevant, that whole tag on him. You look at last year, the NFC title game against the Eagles when he got injured, and the whole thing just collapsed. And this season, you look at the two playoff games. You look at the fact that Packers, fourth quarter comeback, Lions basically overcame a 17-point deficit in the space of just a few minutes against the Lions. And the Chiefs, first time Mahomes on a road playoff game, first time in a while actually being the underdogs in a couple of playoff games this season. And both, of course, Mahomes in Super Bowls, you know, he's never really was in the game at all against Buccaneers a few years ago. Against the Niners 4 years ago, you were 20 points, 10 down in the fourth quarter, I believe, 7 minutes to go. And then in the Eagles game, I believe you only took the lead in the whole game with Harrison Butker game-winning kick. So both these quarterbacks, I think I've mentioned again, get your bingo card out. I mentioned this again. We've seen Dak Prescott to other quarterbacks, you know, fail to really do it in the postseason as opposed to the regular season. Whereas, you know, Mahomes didn't have his best season, and Purdy, you know, had a decent regular season, but he wasn't like in the upper echelon with, you know, CJ Strouds or Lamar Jacksons or Josh Allen's and all that. But yet, come playoff time, same with Eli Manning and Joe Flacco, he's turning it up and he's turning on when it matters. I think that for me is more important to me than how they perform in the regular season. And I think I would take that over anything like a Dak or Tua being this year in terms of never really doing it when it matters. But do you think that, I'll go to you first, Paul, you know, 4 years ago, you really had an easy run to Super Bowl in terms of you breezed past the Vikings, you breezed past the Packers, and you were breezing past the Chiefs for a lot of the game. And then obviously disaster struck. And obviously fast forward to this year, you were down against the Packers, you came back. You were down against the Lions and you came back. So do you think almost that's going to stand you in good stead? Because I think we were talking about part one, I think there's 9 players who were part of the Super Bowl squad 4 years ago. Do you think that sort of ability to overcome adversity, as well as what happened last season as well, do you think that's going to stand you in good stead more than it would have done 4 years ago? The fact you've got more experience and you've had those setbacks.
I mean, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, he's been overcoming adversity since day one. You know, we all know the story of Brady, chip on his shoulder. I don't know if you've heard this before, Brad, but when CMC was traded, we weren't allowed to physically give him the playbook until he passed his medical. And ironically, we were playing the Chiefs. So CMC lands in San Francisco late Friday, passes his medical. Saturday, Kyle Shanahan's like, yeah, we're going to play this kid, but we need to give him a watered-down version of the playbook. The only player available to go through these players was Brock Purdy. And apparently from the second they stepped on the practice field, Purdy was bossing CMC about. He was giving him the lingo. He was giving him the play calling. And CMC had actually gone back and said, bloody hell, this kid, something to watch out for. And their chemistry started there. So I just wanted to get that early on because a lot of the talk I've seen, not from Brad, but some of the Chiefs fans, is obviously Purdy came in that game. That was garbage time. You can't take anything from that game. Yes, Purdy technically played Mahomes. Now that day, Patrick Mahomes showed the world what an elite quarterback looks like. He was surgical. He was different to the Patrick Mahomes I remembered from the Super Bowl. And that's why I've started with this. He wasn't running around. He wasn't doing the Hollywood passes. He picked us apart that day. And he picked on Charvarius Ward. I think we got beat 44-20 or something. But I remember after that game thinking, wow, if that's the standard, we're a million miles off that. And then obviously Brock Purdy gets his real start against Danley's Dolphins. He always rolls his eyes.
Thank you very much for picking that up. I was waiting for that.
So, but it's relevant because we had people at the stadium, and when Jimmy went off, the texts were coming through. That's it, season's done, lads. Third choice quarterback's coming out. Yeah, what's he going to do? And there was one player where he looked like a rabbit in the headlights, and he went to escape out the pocket, and the two edge rushers from the Dolphins were there in his face, and we were all thinking, "Oh, please don't get injured." And I remember going on our pod, Brad, saying, "He's not poised enough in the pocket for me. He's panicking." And then against the Buccaneers a week later, it was as if he listened to what we said. He was stepping up into the pocket rather than escaping it. And he's continued to surprise week in, week out. You look at whatever metric you want to pick, deep passes, EPA. And I know you've just said there, you don't look at regular season, Andy, but Purdy was the EPA king of the regular season. He was producing numbers comparable to the best, Montana, Brady, Manning. But the postseason, similar to the Chiefs, I said a couple of weeks ago, when it all just settled, it was in the playoffs, Mahomes scares me the most. And I got laughed at because a lot of people didn't think the Chiefs were going to do anything. And I was like, been there before. You get the Chiefs in the playoffs, you've got Patrick Mahomes. He's the reason for me the Chiefs win on Sunday. He's got that star power. We just hope Brock Purdy isn't overawed by the occasion. He does what he's done best, get the ball out to his playmakers. Don't wilt under the pressure, which I don't think he will. And that's why I've started with his first adversity from day one. And Kyle Shanahan trusts that kid as much as Andy Reid trusts Patrick Mahomes. And we've not had that. We went into that Super Bowl in Miami despite Jimmy G, not because of Jimmy G. And you had to bring up the last quarter, didn't you, Andy? Erased from my memory. It was going all right. It was going all right. You had to bring that up, didn't you? The lights came on in Newcastle. There was about 45 of the UK faithful, and we were just looking at each other. You said it better than me. The game was in the bag. We thought number 6 was coming home, and I don't think we'd fully recovered, but I like the way that we've battled adversity. The only worry I've got is so is the Chiefs. Could the Chiefs do it on the road? Went into Buffalo, did it there. Went into the Ravens, did it there. Miami, everyone's like, oh, these are the new kids on the block. You know, they've got Mike McDaniel. And I'm like, kind of wish the Chiefs had a bit of an easier run to the Super Bowl than what they've had, if that answers your question a different way.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens game, I think, was a missed chance for the Ravens because they shut the Chiefs out in the entire second quarter. And you know, and we've seen, I think the Dolphins shut the Chiefs out in Germany. And does that almost worry you, Brad? I mean, we talk about Mahomes. We know how good he is. We talked about him enough times. But does that worry you at all? The fact that he played against injury hit Dolphins, and then the Bills game was a great win, but obviously the Ravens game, they really didn't really turn up on offense. So do you think that, like we talked about the Niners having an easy run 4 years ago, and also you were there for the Super Bowl win against the Niners, but do you think almost that could be something that goes against you? The fact that you haven't really, you stumbled toward the end and then get to playoffs, you did have quite an easy run. Or do you think that it's Mahomes, it's Kelce, it's Andy Reid, whoever you play, you're going to be fine?
Well, first off, I wouldn't say it was an easy run going against the Bills and the Ravens and the Dolphins on the road, but I mean, yeah, it's been a strange old season because we've expected, or we've been accustomed to, a lot of Mahomes-led offenses that have just been just lights out. Just, if you score one, we'll score two. That, it just seems as though that was the mentality with the offense, and things have changed quite a bit this year. And a lot of people are probably, attribute that towards the fact that they've lost Tyreek Hill. They've lost that big game player that can just literally turn a game on its head, as you saw in the Super Bowl 54. He's one of those players that will do that. And, you've got Mahomes with a weapon like that. It's gonna, you can win games almost every time. But what Mahomes, or the Mahomes version you're seeing now, it's strange. A lot of Chiefs fans have been almost calling it almost like Brady-esque in a way. He's not being forcing the ball as much. And I think he's learned from past experiences that trying to force the game and try and take the game on yourself you're going to get in the way of the team more often than enough. And I think this season, although we've seen a lot of wide receiver drops and everything like that, and that's kind of contributed to the Chiefs' kind of spluttering start, I suppose, throughout the season. You are seeing Mahomes now really kind of taking care of the ball a lot more. He's reading and understanding defenses a lot more. He's working it out. His brain now seems as though it is almost on the level of the greats, where he is starting to think and see the game completely different. A bit like, like Neo in the Matrix, and he suddenly sees the green writing and the green, the green code and everything like that. It feels like Mahomes is seeing that now. And he's proven a lot of doubters. He's really just brought his game up, even though it doesn't look flashy and it doesn't look like he's got the Hollywood passes anymore. He's still got it in his locker, and he can still do it. You saw that game against the Ravens. He was scrambling around in the pocket, and then he tossed it to Kelce, and Kelce did that amazing catch. You still see that, and he can still extend the plays, but he's not having to do it as often because he is reading the game a lot easier now and a lot better. But the big thing for this is obviously he's understanding that it's not just about him anymore. It's actually the rest of the team. And you can see him working with the rest of the team. He's even, giving the defense pointers in training and stuff like that. There's nice little footage of him and Kelce showing Justin Reed just, how he's going to actually cover Kelce. And Kelsey's actually telling him the tips. He's saying, I don't like to go this way, or I don't like to go that way, or I don't like doing that, and I don't like doing that. So if I do that, just do it. Do something, or giving him the pointers where he's going to really kind of affect him in the game where he's playing against similar types of players in Kelce. So, yeah, to answer the question, really, I'm not that upset that we're getting this version of Mahomes, because it does seem, as Paul says, more of a clinical Mahomes now, rather than just F it, Tyreek's down there somewhere. It's that kind of player now where he's learned the game. He's very much a student of the game, but he's mastering it a lot more, and he's understood that it is all about a team game. It's not about just throwing long bombs and doing the Hollywood flash passes anymore.
So you said mastered. Could you argue that Mahomes is managing the game better, Brad?
Well, this is it.
Because you look at the stats.
You could say that. You could say that. I mean, the game managers. I mean, is Tom Brady a game manager? You could argue that.
I hate that argument so much. I did, because I think that he led the league in passing, I think, multiple times, and I think the whole system quarterback thing is the latest thing, because every quarterback is a system quarterback. Everyone's playing in a system, so I used to always hate that. But I do love the fact that we talk about Mahomes and Brady comparisons. Brady also the contract thing. But when Mahomes had that deal, whatever year it was, when he got given the 10-year deal, everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is way too much money. It's going to affect the team." But really, look at it now and how it's gone since. I think I want to say he's something like the 16th most paid, highest paid quarterback in terms of average yearly salary or something. There's some type of salary stat where he's the 16th most. So,
they readjusted it. They readjusted it recently.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it was after Joe Burrow got his big deal, and then it was like, right, okay, well, we're going to throw in a big deal as well. I've no idea why they did that, to be honest. I've no idea why they did it, but clearly they've managed to navigate around the cap a little bit more. But I still think that he could probably take a bit more of a team-friendly deal, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, probably could. We're going to switch from offense to defense because I think two styles on offense that could be key are both the running backs and McCaffrey and Pacheco. If they're going to be stopped, I think we're going to see big games from the likes of Chris Jones and Nick Bosa. Now, I think for me, I think you look at the tight end battle is fascinating. Look at Kittle against Kelce. I call it the people's tight end against the best ever tight end of all time. But I think equally on defense, I think you look at the whole. I don't think I think the Chiefs pass defense is better than the 49ers defense. I think we're going to see a lot more success when it comes to the Niners run game. But I think equally Pacheco has been so good in these playoffs. I think he's going to be such a big part of this game. So Nick Bosa and Jones are going to really have their work cut out in these four quarters. So Paul, for you, is Nick Bosa the most crucial player on Sunday, or are you looking at someone like Tre'Davious Ward or Fred Warner? Or who do you think can be the most likely candidate from your defense to stop Mahomes, to stop Kelce, to stop Pacheco and everyone else?
You can't stop them. It's the NFL. Now, Bosa probably won't be the main one that the Chiefs are factoring in. It's going to be Fred Warner. It's going to be Dre Greenlaw. And I'm not having a dig at Mahomes here. Just bear with me. I've done my homework. So when you look at how the Chiefs have played this year, Mahomes has led the NFL in percentage of passes that were screens at 15.7%. And I hate that term game manager. He gets the ball out quick, as you said, Brad, to his playmakers. He puts the ball in his playmakers' hands. Now, we're not going to stack the box. We're not going to put 8 against Patrick Mahomes. Pacheco is a good running back. Now, I don't think he's as explosive as the Lions players. I'm not saying Pacheco's good. The Lions players definitely expose that kind of soft zone mesh scheme that Wilkes likes to do. Wilkes likes to kind of set it up where you're not going to beat me deep. Okay, let's see what you've got in the running game. And Dan Campbell was very aggressive. Now, I think Andy Reid, very similar to Kyle Shanahan. We're going to see a lot of screens. We're going to see a lot of orbits. We're going to see a lot of jet sweeps. MVS still gives me nightmares of that game where he's got like 3 touchdowns in a row off a jet sweep. But I think Travis Kelce, Fred Warner is going to be the battle for me. I don't think he's going to go man to man, but I think Fred Warner is the leader of our defense. He's got better and better every week this season. Dre Greenlaw has kind of got that aggression right. There was a time last year where Greenlaw would spill over. You could wind him up. But I think our linebackers versus, as you said, Andy, Travis Kelce, probably one of the best tight ends in the league. I'm a Niners fan, Brad. I can't quite say he's better than Kittle. You know this. We've got to keep our loyalty somewhere. But equally, we know where the ball's going. We know it's going to Kelce. We know it's going to Rice. We know it's going to Pacheco. And like you said, I just hope Wilkes doesn't kind of come in with the same attitude that he did against the Lions. Like, this is my defense, and I'm not going to change anything till half-time. We can't go 17 points behind to the Chiefs. We can't get into a shootout, go toe-to-toe. So that's the battle I'm looking for. And I've got a lot of respect for the Chiefs' defensive coordinator, which we'll get onto. I can't pronounce his name, but the Chiefs' defense impresses me. You haven't got... Chris Jones is amazing. The way you beat Chris Jones is similar to what we do to Aaron Donald. You either run straight at him to kind of like, right, here we are, or you move the ball away from him. And you go the opposite side. You've got Trent Williams, you've got George Kittle, you've got Charlie Warner, and you let CMC go the opposite way. Chris Jones is a beast of a man. He's one of my favourite players in the NFL. And I seen him stood next to Fred Warner at the opening night. I was like, the hell. I wouldn't fancy him chasing after me, but I'm confident in Purdy. He's the most blitzed quarterback in the league this year. He's handled the pressure. And I think what we've got, which the Chiefs fans have already alluded to, under Jimmy, the new daring to throw it, Brock Purdy can air that ball out. So it's going to be an interesting battle. I just want us to run the ball, as you probably can guess, Andy.
Run CMC.
So, yeah, I think the way you beat the Chiefs and Mahomes, you have to put him under pressure. I talked about the stat with the screenplay, and I'm not saying he's a game manager. It's not dink or dunk. He's done what he's done well, but to combat this offense, Steve Wilkes has to change it up. Like I was saying, you can't go soft zone against these boys. Now, to combat a team that plays a lot of screens, you go man to man. Now, that seems quite easy, doesn't it, Brad? Oh, we'll just go man to man against the Chiefs. You have to have the personnel to do that. And that's where I think Warner and Greenlaw come into this more than Bosa. We do need to make Mahomes under pressure. Now, what the Niners have done this year differently, which I'm not sure Chiefs fans are aware, when we came to the Super Bowl last time, it was all about the front seven. It was all about those pass rushers getting to Mahomes. And he was like bloody Superman. He was just running around But what we did against Jalen Hurts, and that links into my Purdy good, Brad. This time last year, well, the NFC Championship game last year, I came on Andy's show and I was very respectful to the Eagles fan. And I didn't come on and say Purdy good and feeling super confident. And Andy has always reminded me that the one time I come on his show and I don't mention a quip doesn't do me so well. But you don't blitz Mahomes, Andy. Reed has a different screen up his sleeve to beat the blitz. This year it's different. Kelce isn't separating like he once was, but that's not a knock on Kelce. Go and watch the game tape. He just doesn't run routes, but he gets open. I just don't understand it. You know, you watch Brandon Ayuk run a route perfectly, and then you watch Kelce just kind of like jog into the end zone. And you think, why aren't you picking up 87? You know, if I'm seeing that. The loss of your left guard only makes going after Mahomes a bit more enticing for me. So Joe Thurney is a big loss for you boys. And for me, you take away that his first or second option. I looked at the stats when the teams have rushed 5 against the Chiefs. You've only been 26th overall in EPA per play. Now, again, that's Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going off regular season stats. You look what the Ravens did to you guys in the second half. I was quite impressed with how they shut you down. But do we have the personnel to do that? I don't know. If Mahomes puts together a 10-play drive where he methodically marches down the field, that zaps the defense. So the key is keeping him off the field, Andy, when you asked the question about the defense. And that's why I was joking about run the ball. We need to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. So that, for me, is the key to victory on our defense on Sunday.
Yeah, I think with Mahomes, the whole blitzing thing. I mean, we've seen Mahomes, I think, throughout his career, he's had games where he's been obliterated with pressure from defenses. He overcomes it. I think obviously the one game we look at is the Buccaneers game, but even then he made a couple of passes where it's probably the best incomplete pass I've ever seen. That one again in Super Bowl 55. But you know, you come at him, he makes his quick throws, get out to his men, and you give him time and he does damage. So whatever way you come at it, he finds a way to go about it. But for you, Brad, I mean, looking at the Niners, obviously you mentioned Christian McCafffrey there. He's going to be obviously the big threat in this game for the Niners on their offense, as well as the likes of, Deebo Samuel, who can do multiple things. He calls himself the wide back for a reason. You got Brandon Ayuk and even Elijah Mitchell, I think, on his day is a great number 2 running back. So for you, Brad, I mean, I do, going back to Niners, actually, I do think Tre'Davious Ward might be the key on defense because he was the league in passes defended and also tied for 4th or 5th in sacks as well. So I think he can show that he can, from the nickel position, he can run in and get those sacks, but also stop the pass. So I think for me, he is the key for you on Sunday. But for you, Brad, obviously, which player are you looking for? Because Chris Jones is the obvious one, but maybe is there another player maybe you can look at and think that they're going to be the key to stop the Niners?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be difficult because, this 49ers team is loaded on weapons. It really is. I mean, I think the first thing that they're going to have to really kind of try and deal with is the impact that CMC is going to have on this game, because Shanahan before in these previous Super Bowls has always abandoned the run game, and it's been his downfall. So, but when you've got a player like CMC, it's too much of a temptation not to keep using him over and over and over again. And when you've got the blocking ability of George Kittle, putting those two together, it's double trouble, basically, isn't it, for the Chiefs? Because Kittle's one hell of a player. Let's not get this wrong. He's one hell of a player. And, there's always a bit of back and forth, isn't there, Paul, about who's better. And then you get the 49ers fans saying, well, Kelce can't block. And then, blah, blah, blah. But there is a mutual respect there between those two. And you can understand the boos and everything that were going around on opening night when Kelce was on the stage. It was deafening. But when you get the boos like that, that's just an indication to the player that you are a threat. You are the main threat. You are the guy that we've got to look out for. And Paul's right. He doesn't really kind of run a route as in the usual kind of route that you would normally get from any player. He's on that same page as Patrick Mahomes because they can sense when a play breaks down and they can adapt to it and change it. And they're both just so in tune, it's unreal. And that's probably why he gets open that much, because when you get defensive players obviously looking at tape and things like that and looking at routes and, trying to slow down an offense, you will look at a route, and then probably Kelce will just change it, and just in the blink of an eye, and he'll just go a different route, and Mahomes has already thrown the ball to him. That's why I think he gets open so much, is they are just so much on the same page. But going back to what you were saying, the Chiefs' defensive side is going to really have its work cut out in this game. I mean, it's been great throughout the playoffs, been absolutely fantastic throughout the playoffs, and it's been absolutely exceptional all year. It's probably one of the best Chiefs defenses that this franchise has ever had. And I don't want to disrespect the others that we've had, some of the great players that we've had, like Derek Thomas and, Willie Lanier and, Buck Buchanan and players like that over in the past. There's some exceptional defensive players, but this team as a unit, it's the youngest defense. And yet here it is in a Super Bowl. And, a lot of the team, I think 36 members of the team have obviously either come from that Super Bowl time or been in a Super Bowl before. That's a lot of experience on there for such a young team. But trying to shut down this 49ers, basically this armory that they've got, I think it has to start by shutting down the run game. It has to, because if that run game gets established, it's lights out basically right from the start. So I think what the Chiefs will do, and in going back to what Paul was saying, Brock Purdy's exceptional against the blitz because he can get the ball out to those weapons, that supporting cast. So the Chiefs have normally done a lot of blitzing throughout the playoffs. They did it against the Ravens a lot, an awful lot, and that seems to have been the thing that really suppressed Lamar Jackson. But you can't do this against Brock Purdy. So I think the Chiefs will actually almost like stand off a little bit. They'll sit back in coverage. They'll probably try and load the box to try and deal with the run, but try and lock down those threats and just see if Purdy can actually do it, with a full defense, staring him down the barrel at him, basically. So I think that's the only plan that you can do for the Chiefs. I think that's the only thing that we can try and do to try and slow this offense down. Not blitz, sit back and just see if Purdy can pull the triggers.
Are you worried about Samuel? Because the player you haven't mentioned, and I thought you would.
Yeah.
Snead is an awesome cornerback. I love
He
watching
is.
him on game tape. He will follow Ayuk. Snead will be on Brandon Ayuk. And the reason I'm asking that, Andy, jumping in to steal your thunder, is Deebo Samuel will technically be the number 2 receiver. And as much as CMC, I think, may have a legacy game, this game set up for Deebo Samuel, because both teams are the best in the NFL at yards after the catch. And that's something that us as Niners fans are worried about. Mahomes getting the ball out to Rice, getting the ball out to Kelce. But on the flip side of that, you're right in what you're saying. We've got CMC, we've got Kittle, we've got Jennings, we've got the Avengers playing football for the 49ers. And I just think that the Chiefs defense, you play that quite good zone with your 2 high safeties, which, like you said, I think you're going to kind of dare Purdy. I think you'll have looked at what the Ravens did on Christmas Day. Now,
yeah,
well documented. We had turnovers, but only one of them was on Brock for me. And Kyle Shanahan didn't destroy him. In the past, he took the ball out the quarterback's hands. It was interesting. The Ravens shut you guys out, but then abandoned the run. Just don't get it. Do what you're good at.
So crazy. I couldn't believe it. I think Edwards had the first play of the game, or maybe second play of the game. He had a 15-yard run, and I think he had something like 3 or 4 carries the whole game. I just don't get a team that was so successful in that area just completely abandoning their whole what got in there. We talk about Dan Campbell and the questionable decision to go for on 4th down, but at least he was sticking to his gun, sticking to what got him to that position and doing what has got him success. But for the Ravens, I've said it before, I think I do question whether someone like Harbaugh is a great postseason head coach, and I think it's shown it again because he's just completely neglected the whole game, man. And the defense was playing amazingly. I mean, as I said before, shut out the Ravens in the entire second half. Sorry, let's shut out the Chiefs in the entire second half, and the defense was making some great players and you kept thinking, oh, now they got the chance to get back in the game, and then Lamar Jackson throws in triple coverage, and it's just, for me, I think it's it takes special kind of coach. I think it goes to show Andy Reid is talking about, even Shanahan making it now 2 Super Bowls, and I think that Harbaugh's only made 1, and I think that for Andy Reid to make 1 Super Bowl with the Eagles and then it's his 4th with the Chiefs, I think this is what separates the good from the elite, because you can make it to 1, you can make it to even 2, but to make it to more than that, I think takes a special head coach, and I think Shannon's only got 2, but that's 2 in 4 or 5 years. Same with McVay. I think it just shows, for me, how good a job he's done, and it just for me, I was just so confused why Harbaugh did that, and I think that really another day they probably would have won that game. I think if they stuck to their guns, and I think could have been a whole different game. But that completely
Do you
threw me
not
off. I
think
think
it
a lot of
was?
fans off as well.
Do you not think it's a case of like what Brad and the Chiefs fans are saying, that the Chiefs know who they are now, like the Niners? We know who we are. We stick to what we do. Your defense, I wouldn't say, aside from Chris Jones, has any superstars. And what I'm interested, this is going to be the battle of the motions. The Niners and the Chiefs call screen passes more than anyone. And that sounds boring, but it's not going to be boring. You're going to see yards after the catch. You're going to see the two-man coverage, which is the Chiefs' go-to. We are the league leading. I think we've got a 63% success rate when Shanahan goes against that. And that's why I think Deebo Samuel could be the key in this one. Get that ball in his hand behind the line of scrimmage and get after him. And sometimes what I think the Ravens forgot to do, Brad, you don't have to do 6, 7, 10-yard runs. Run the ball 3 yards, run the ball 3 yards. And especially for us as Niners fans, you've got Mahomes, you run 3 yards, 3 yards. And then you've got like a 3rd and 4. You've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got Rice, you've got Pacheco. And like you said, Andy, the Ravens, I think it was more they wanted to beat the Chiefs by passing the ball. Now,
I think it was more along the lines of the Chiefs scored early in that, because I mean, if you remember, the Ravens got a 3 and out early on, and I think that spooked them.
It did, yeah. I remember watching that one at home. I was a bit like,
and when they went 3 and out, and then the Chiefs went down the other end and scored, I thought, hang on a minute, we might have actually flipped their game plan on the head here, where they might think, oh my God, we've got to go toe to toe with them now, because the Chiefs got up early, and that's it. That's the similar thing that I think the 49ers has got to be wary of. If the Chiefs get in early and start scoring early, which they have done, I mean, they've not been great in the second half of games, but they have been pretty good in the first quarter, and obviously with the scripted plays and stuff. And I think if the Chiefs get in early, it's going to be tempting for Shanahan to go, right, let's just abandon the run. He shouldn't.
Yeah,
because
he can't abandon the run in this. He's seen that against the Lions. But what was interesting, to interrupt you there, Brad, against the Lions, we expected him to come out second half and be pass heavy because we were 17 points down, and he didn't. The first 3 plays were Deebo plays, and I think there was the second one where Deebo got about 5 or 6 yards, and he jumps to his feet and he's like, "Hurry up, offense!" The start of the third quarter, and we're all like, "This is nice. This is not what we're used to seeing," and that's where I think you're right in what you're saying. That Ravens game was crazy. Everyone goes on, Andy, the Chiefs didn't score any points in the second half. Who's in the Super Bowl? Who cares? That's what us Niners fans are saying. Like, who cares?
Well, it's what I was going back to before about Mahomes. In the second half, you just saw him he wasn't wanting to force the ball. Even though we were in the lead, I think he just thought, right, let's just take what we've got. He didn't want to force it. He didn't want to make a mistake. He didn't want to get in the way of how well the defense was playing. If he threw an interception, or if Pacheco fumbled the ball or anything like that, it would have been, that would have been it. It probably would have been game over for us, really. But Mahomes understood the assignment. He understood that we're in the lead. Let's just keep the lead. Let's not try and force it. If we get something, we get something. If not, let's just rely on the defense. And it was great in that respect. Just look after the ball, because how many times have we seen all season where the offense has really got in the way of the defense by just drops, bad plays, just uninspired games, basically game plans and stuff. It's been a very odd season, but like I said, I think we've seen this new kind of style of Mahomes come out recently, which has been brilliant.
Yeah, like Brock Purdy, that third quarter was majestic. Niners fans hadn't seen that. Chief fans, yes, we get it. But for us, this season's been tremendous. I've loved doing pods with Andy. Every time I've come on, I gush about CMC, I gush about Ayuk, and I don't take it for granted. I mean, you Chiefs fans, 4 out of 6. Yes, we have been in the 4 out of 5 NFC Championship games, but I have enjoyed the build-up to this week. I am confident in our team. I'm not going to sit here and say the Niners defense is perfect. It's not. But Steve Wilkes isn't as bad as what you might have seen or heard. He's been good at making adjustments. He showed that against the Lions. I'm looking forward to seeing Shanahan versus your defensive coordinator. That's the battle all Niners fans are talking about. It's going to be interesting. Like you said, we know both teams want the other team to win the toss. You want us to start with the ball. we want you to start with the ball because Andy Reid and Shanhan both want that ball back after the second half. For the neutral, tuning in, I don't get it, Brad. You've probably seen the hate. This is the Super Bowl nobody wanted. Why? You've got the best two teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
Why do you not want the best two teams in the NFL at the end of the season, the Super Bowl?
We all wanted a Lion. I think we all wanted that Lions. And I think the Ravens just because it wasn't the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, it's. I can understand the hate. I really can, and I can get it. And but I think that's going to be what the difference is in this game. I think there might be a lot of pressure on this 49ers team to end the evil Empire's run. And even Vegas is, the betting is actually favouring slightly to the 49ers. I think there's still a bit up in arms about, could the Chiefs actually pull this off? Because they have come through probably one of the most difficult playoff runs, definitely one I've ever seen anyway, against some of the top teams. And is the pressure going to be all on the 49ers here to actually have the revenge game and also be almost like America's team, dare I say, and wipe out the evil Empire's run? I think that could be a deciding factor. And I actually said that about the game previously against the Ravens. I think all the pressure was on Lamar Jackson, all the pressure was on the Ravens, and they didn't step up to the mark in the end.
Yeah, it was certainly a damn scud when it comes to their performance. Now, before we do go, I want to get your thoughts on these comments and really a question that's derived from that. I don't know whether you saw Ochocinco today saying that he was so confident the Chiefs win. If they don't win, he will never eat McDonald's again, and he will divorce his wife and give up sex for a year. Now, what I'll ask you guys is, what's the biggest thing you'd give up to see your team win a Super Bowl? We'll go to you first, Paul, because you haven't seen your team win one before. What's the biggest thing what would you give up the most if it meant the 49ers winning a Super Bowl?
There's a backhanded compliment, isn't it? You've never seen your team win before, and Brad's like, well, I've seen a couple, got the trophy behind me.
One of them.
So I don't drink alcohol at the moment after my Achilles rupture, so I'd have to give up a vice, wouldn't I? So at the moment, I've got a really sweet tooth. So if the Niners were to win the Super Bowl, you name what I have to stop eating to give it up. I just want to say the Ravens loss was my first year supporting the Niners. That's what cemented my legacy as a Niners fan, actually losing that Super Bowl and arguing with strangers the next day. The Chiefs one hurt. It hurt me badly. Like you said, Brad, we were supposedly the favourites, the way it went. I just don't want that feeling again. But it's a boring answer, Andy, but I'd give up anything you want me to give up if it meant the Niners win the Super Bowl.
I'm curious as to what you mentioned, sweet tooth. Is it chocolate, sweets, pastries? What kind of thing are you most sort of addicted to? Almost
chocolate at the moment. I have a bit of a tasting for some of the American chocolate, and I do like a caramel milk bar or two. So, like you said, I ruptured my Achilles tendon. I was never a big drinker, but I definitely developed a sweet tooth and a love for all things NFL. So I can't give the NFL up. So the next best thing would be something like that.
Well, funny you mentioned the whole thing about you and Brad, because Brad, you've seen your team have 6 straight AFC title games. You've won a division 8 times in a row. You've made the 4 Super Bowls, won 2 of them, could win the third one. Paul, you've seen your team make 4 out of the last 5 NFC Championship games. You've seen your team play in 3 Super Bowls. I've not seen my team win a playoff game.
Do you know, there was a time when it was like that for the Chiefs fans. When I started watching them, I mean, God, like I said, when I started watching, it was probably like, it was the back end of 2011. So I had the first full season was 2012, and we won 2 games all season. It was terrible. It was a horrible run. And then obviously we had the Andy Reid era come in, and it obviously made things a lot better. But, not actually seeing the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. I mean, even though I was very late to the party in a way of actually supporting the Chiefs, in 2011, you still feel the 50 years of hurt where, you spoke to a lot of, Chiefs fans who've been diehards right from birth, and you understood the heartaches. I also remember the 2013 playoffs. I don't really want to get into it, and it was something that there was a lot of release. I think obviously when they finally won the second Super Bowl against obviously Paul's team there. And there was a lot of release there, and there was almost a belief in the team and obviously the fan base that, oh my God, we've actually pulled something off here that we never thought any of us would ever see in our lifetimes. So it was a great moment. It was a great feeling, and maybe Paul might get that this Sunday, to get that feeling of actually seeing his team win a Super Bowl, and just kind of enjoying the moment. And I've been really fortunate to obviously see them actually in the Super Bowl, in the flesh, and also see them go on these other runs as well, where they're in the fourth Super Bowl now. It's like, I'm not taking it for granted. I think a lot of Chiefs fans are quite humbled at the fact that we do have that 50 years of hurt still back in the memory banks a little bit, that the Chiefs were diabolical for a lot of years, and we've been very much the Neely men. And finally we are the men now, which seems to be the belief now that this team can do great things, especially when you've got the likes of Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce. And how long is it going to last? We don't know. We actually thought that winning one back in 2020, that was probably our only chance to ever see one. But here we are. It can happen. It comes round and swings and roundabouts now and again. It could be the Dolphins at some point. They're on the up right now. You just don't know, mate.
See, Andy, that's why I wanted to do the show. I knew Brad's background, and you do yourself a disservice there. I'm the same as you, 2011, 2012. I'm as diehard as you are. And yes, I wasn't born in San Francisco, but you immerse yourself in the team. I don't do English Premier League. I do NFL. I do the Niners. Same. That's it. And like you said, you're right. I know Chiefs fans. I thought, wow, you've won it in 2020. And then you sit here now and you think, just let us have a go. Just let me have one. But it could be the Niners could be about to start. And that's what Andy said a few weeks ago on his show, the NFL. You pick a team, you invest in that team, and sometimes you get rewarded. I am hoping for you to buy a new jersey, Andy. I know you've said if the Dolphins win in the playoff, whichever player scores the winning touchdown, you're buying a new jersey. But yeah, you did yourself a disservice there, Brad. You definitely die hard. I follow you on social media. You're right. I haven't come across a Chiefs fan that trash talks me. They've all been engaging. I mean, I watched that show you did the other night for a full hour, and you were just talking Chiefs. And I was sat at home. My missus was like, "What you doing?" I was like, "Shh, watching the Chiefs. I'm watching. I'm getting my homework in." And she can't understand why. But the Taylor Swift thing, before we go, my missus, her new colleague at work, is purely a Chiefs fan because of Taylor Swift.
We've seen a lot of that in a minute. Yeah. We really are seeing a lot of that in a minute, which it's good in a way. I mean, we've lapped it up. We've ridden on it, and we've enjoyed the fact that there's this new kind of new set of eyes looking at the Chiefs right now, and it's great. I mean, it's almost like the Chiefs Kingdom fan base and the Swiftie fan base have kind of come together in harmony, and everything's all rosy in the garden right now. Long may it continue, hopefully. I hope there's nothing ever going to happen in the future, but it might disrupt that, but you never know. But it's wonderful at the minute. It really is. And I know a lot of people think it's a circus right now. And some people, some comments have been flying around saying that, well, why is she on my TV screen for 24 seconds?
That angers me. I mean, I joke on. She said she was a Chiefs fan purely because of Taylor Swift, and you were the earlier kickoff in the championship weekend. So if the Niners for the earlier game should have been a Niners fan. And I've got a teenage daughter. She nicked one of my Niners hoodies. She was wearing it to college because the NFL is the fashion to be. And I was so proud. She had an argument with someone about like Brock Purdy, CMC. When I was picking up, I was like, "That's my girl. That's my girl." And if it gets people watching the sport, then I'm all for it. But I don't buy this whole if she's on the screen. It's just like Posh and Becks. That's the best way I can describe it.
It's exactly like that. Yeah. It's exactly like that. Brad, I want to pick a touch on. I had a quick nosy for your YouTube channel that you had. And I looked through the video you did at Arrowhead. I think it was the year before Mahomes got drafted. And like you see, like when you're on the motorway and you see a car crash on the other side of the road, and you keep going, and there's cars that haven't yet been involved in the traffic queue, and you're thinking, they don't know what's coming. They don't know what's coming. And I'm thinking with you back then, he didn't know what's coming. I was watching this, thinking, Brad's at this game, not knowing what's about to happen to his team. What's happened since. So I really enjoyed watching that, thinking, wow.
Yeah.
He's this guy set for years of success. But Brad, as well, I've got to ask you, what's the biggest thing you'd give up to see your team win another Super Bowl?
Oh God! I mean, I don't have many vices. I must admit, I don't. I mean, I love my motorbikes, I suppose, but I don't want to give up a motorbike. That'd be crazy talk. That'd be like giving up sex, wouldn't it? But it really would. I don't know anybody would make that bet. I really don't. But I don't know. I don't know really. I like listening to my records. I like my Chiefs memorabilia and stuff like that. I don't really know what I would actually give up. Like I said, I've already seen them, win 2 in my lifetime, and they're here in the 4th one now, which everything I could have asked for. I mean, I suppose I could give up one of the Lombardis, I suppose.
There's a space. There's a space.
Give up one of the old ones, see a new one, maybe. I might be chuffed with that.
Now, before we do our predictions, quick fire round, both of you. First of all, the best halftime performance you've seen in your lifetime. Brad, we'll stick with you. The best performance you've seen.
It's got to be Left Shark.
And Brad,
that's Katy Perry's Left Shark.
And then Paul.
I'm in my 40s, so I'm an Eminem, Dr. Dre. That was my kind of thing.
Good.
So
yeah,
that was probably pretty good for me because we weren't.
I tell you what, I would give a shout out to Lady Gaga because I thought that was a really good show.
That was really good. And then secondly, what's the best Super Bowl you've ever watched? Paul, back to you. The best game you've seen in the Super Bowl.
Well, certainly wasn't the one in Miami, was it, Brad?
Well, I don't know.
From a neutral point of view, I did like the Patriots-Falcons game because I totally was just immersed in that. I thought they were out of it at halftime. And given that Shanahan's come over to us, that's kind of part of his story, part of his legacy. So watching that one live. And then when the Eagles won it, as much as I don't like the Eagles, I was at a watch party in Manchester. There was an annoying Patriots fan there. Funny story, I missed the Philly special because I thought they were kicking a field goal. So I went to the toilet. And when I come back, my mate who doesn't know the NFL was jumping up and down and saying they'd scored a try. And I was like, what on earth do you mean they'd scored a try? So I missed the Philly special live, everybody. So there you go. Take it that what you want.
That is gutting. Brad, for you, it might be obvious, but what is your favourite?
You would expect me to say the one that I actually attended, which was against the Niners. But no, I actually really enjoyed the last year's one. I thought it was... If I was a neutral, I would absolutely have loved that game. But the number of heart attacks I think I had during that game. I mean, halftime. Honestly, I never thought, or I never think that the Chiefs are dead in the water. But I absolutely thought at halftime, I thought this is done. This game is finished. And then this comeback that the Chiefs went on to actually beat the Eagles was mind blowing, and like I said, the euphoria that we had over in Dublin when we were watching it with a group of Chiefs fans, and the whole bar was full of NFL fans, and they were hating us. It was brilliant. It was so good. So that one's for me.
Yeah, I liked it, but it was me sadly ruined by the end. The horrible fish eating call. Predictions times. Part of the show, we're going to give our predictions. You had our ones in part 1. Now it's time for part 2. Paul, with you first. Who's winning the game, and what's the score going to be?
Well, I'm being naughty here, Brad, because we haven't done our 49er Faithful UK ones yet, and we're in a competition. But Andy's a good friend. It will surprise nobody listening, but I'm going for the 49ers. And I'm going to be bold, because why not? It's a Super Bowl. I reckon the 49ers are winning this one 31-21. And I get my happy ending, and I get my trophy in the cabinet like Brad, and we go wild in Leeds. So there you go, Andy. You heard it here first.
Amazing. Brad, for yours.
Isn't that the same score in Super Bowl 54?
It's 31-20. So
it was. Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. Yes,
ingrained. That score's ingrained, buddy.
No, I've actually predicted mine on my podcast, and it was Chiefs 24. 49ers 14, believe it or not. I think if the Chiefs get the tails up early, it's probably going to be really tough for the 49ers to try and come back. And we know about the Chiefs' defense. It is a wide receiver graveyard. We've shut down a lot of top wide receivers in the league this year. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, to name a couple. So I think it could be difficult. I think CMC is definitely going to be the one to stop. I think he's the one that gets a couple of touchdowns out of this.
Well, it's interesting because I've done articles coming out, I think, next few days for the touchdown with my prediction. I went for 24-10 to the Chiefs. And I got many reasons. I think everything Brad said is why I think that we've seen Super Bowls in the past where the Rams were one of the highest scoring teams in Super Bowl 53 and they only scored 3 points. I think that this could be an occasion, sadly, where I think maybe the occasion might get to Purdy, but at the same time, he's proved it again. But I've got another reason why I think it is because there's a little trend going on in recent Super Bowls. So Super Bowl 48 was extremely dull. Super Bowl 49 had an infant with Michael Butler. Super Bowl 50 was mediocre, but then 51, 52 were amazing. 53 was awful. 54 was great. 55 was bad. 56 and 57 was great. I think this year could be another one of those ones where it's either one-sided or really dull. And I think we are due a boring Super Bowl. We've had so many good games in recent years in Super Bowls, and I just think that we are due a dull, one-sided affair. So that's why I've gone for. I think the Chiefs win. It's because of Mahomes and Kelce and Andy Reid, the playoff experience. I think they're just in this kind of mode right now. And I think, sadly, for the Niners, they're going to do to you what you did to the Bengals in the 80s and beat you twice in a short space of time. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs win. And, yeah, that is where we'll end the podcast for today. Our Super Bowl 58 preview, episode 100 of the series. Thank you once again to Paul and Brad for coming on.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having us on again, Andy.
Pleasure's all mine.
It's always a pleasure, Andy. You know, big fan of what you do. Even though you have those digs at me. I thought we were friends. Boring Super Bowl, only 10 points. It's a good job I like you, Andy. It's a good job I like you, son.
Just before I go, I want to say good luck to Paul because, like I said, the content that he obviously, the things he does for the 49ers and everything like that, it's brilliant. We need more people like Paul in the UK representing his team.
I appreciate that.
Sadly,
I said to Andy, I was only doing the show with Brad. Sorry to any of the Chiefs fans. So their feelings reciprocated, but no, it's good to see NFL fans in the UK representing their fan base. So I appreciate that. Thank you, buddy.
I agree. I think in a time of quite a lot of negativity I've seen on particularly certain Facebook pages, I do think it's nice, it's refreshing to see a podcast where everyone's being really nice and everyone's getting on, because at the end of the day, that's I think I love the NFL, the fact that multiple fans will just mingle. Like you see the NFL London games all the time, and even most of the time in American games where people just mingle and it's nice. Whereas I do sometimes get disillusioned with how toxic football fans can be in the UK. When you see when you see England playing the Euros final and they're kicking off and chucking fireworks and having fights with Italian fans. It just, I love that sport, but that's one thing that always annoys me. So I always love when fans can get on. But speaking of fans, we have our rest of our predictions coming up now. Our first one coming from touchdowns, Rory Joe Daniels. And we'll see you guys for our Super Bowl review with Steve and Luke from the Hair Dry Treatment. See you then.
So my Super Bowl prediction for Sunday evening is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs to come out victorious over the 49ers, 27-20, I think it'll be. I'm rooting for the Niners, but I don't think I've quite managed to commit to trusting Brock Purdy. So I can see the game ending with a big play from the Chiefs defense. Perhaps somebody like Trent McDuffie running it back for a pick six. So that's how I think it'll go. I think the Chiefs will win again. And Mahomes will carry on his Super Bowl streak.
All right, Andy. Thanks for asking me to send your opinion for the end of the season. I know we talked about it on previous podcasts. I think pretty much this is the outcome most people expected in terms of the Super Bowl. Two best teams basically got that. Although I would have liked to have seen the Ravens, but it is what it is. However, Mahomes is Mahomes, and Mahomes does Mahomes things in Super Bowls. And as much as I'd like to say they're not going to win it, the outcome of this one is going to be pretty straightforward. I think it's going to be 24-21 to the Kansas City Chiefs. And apologies to anyone who I know who's a Broncos fan. All right, Chris. But unfortunately, Mahomes does Mahomes things in Super Bowls, and you can't get away from that.
Hi guys, Tom Morton here, coming to you with my Super Bowl 58 prediction. Unfortunately, I can see the Kansas City Chiefs winning their 3rd and 5. I'd like the 49ers to win for a little bit of variety, and for the storyline of Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant Super Bowl champion. Unfortunately, I can't see them getting past the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs' defense is too strong. I think Brock Purdy struggled in the playoffs and has been outplayed by Lviii and Goff. and has relied on one decent quarter at the end, while the Chiefs and Mahomes, Kelce, that offense just seems to switch on come playoff time, no matter how tricky the regular season has been. So I can see the Chiefs winning it. I can see the Chiefs winning it fairly comfortably by about 10. So enjoy the game wherever you're watching it, and catch you next season.
Hi, Graham Henderson here, aka the Kilted Texan, live in the bullpen with my predictions for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Although the shine of the Super Bowl wore off a bit when my Texans got knocked out, it doesn't mean I can't support some of our former players. Justin Reid, we'd love him to add to that ring collection, and although he won't be playing on Sunday, Charles Omenihu, I would just love for that dude to get his first ring. On the flip side, you have the 49ers with Christian McCafffrey, who I think we would all love to see get that ring. And then as for Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, he could become Mr. Very Relevant if he picks up his first Super Bowl ring. I think this is going to be one of that games that's evenly matched. You know, the offenses are both high-powered. There's good defense on both sides of the ball here. It might come down to special teams in the end. And I think it's going to be that close with maybe a walk-off field goal. And I'm going to predict it's going to be 27-24 to the Niners. I'm backing the Niners on this one. I would just love to see the Chiefs, after all their success lately, just be taken down a peg or two. And those guys are just going to have to shake it off, as they say. But, hey, I'm going with the Niners. We're locked in on Sunday. But after Sunday, we're going to be back on the Texans. Next year, we're going to be in the Super Bowl. Book it. Go Texans.
Hey guys, Scott McCabe here, and I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to defeat the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 58 this weekend in Vegas. There's a number of reasons why I think the Chiefs are going to win, but it's down to Patrick Mahomes. When I put these two quarterbacks beside each other, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the difference maker, and I also think if Brock Purdy gets put under pressure, like this Chiefs defense is going to do, with Chris Jones coming after him and all these other factors, I think it might be too much for Purdy. If he throws an interception, I think the 49ers could be in trouble. So I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes to have a great game. I also think you need to look out for running back Isaiah Pacheco. He's going to be key in this one. That's my prediction. Let's see what happens.
Hi guys, this is Freddie from the Franchise Tag Podcast, here to give you my Super Bowl prediction for Super Bowl 58. And I really fancy the San Francisco 49ers to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. If I was going to put a score on it, I'd probably say 27-24. I think it'd be a bit of a lower scoring game that we may expect, because these two defenses are very good. The Chiefs defense is underrated, but the San Francisco 49ers defense is fantastic. I just fancy the might of Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, that offense, and to go and beat the Chiefs in Las Vegas. I mean, we don't want the Chiefs to win it again. We need a little bit of a different team every now and then, don't we? And the San Francisco 49ers have been electric this season. Unfortunately, they've not been so electric in the off-season. The Chiefs have probably been better there. But I feel when the bright lights are shining in Vegas, the San Francisco 49ers will come through.
Hi Andy, Sam from Let's Talk Sport NFC West. Big game for Sunday. I'm going with, believe it or not, being a Rams fan, I'm going with the Chiefs 27, 49ers 24. All on that Swifty train.
Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying this episode of the Across the Pod podcast. This is Dan Toomey here with the Banners Fly Forever football show. For the game this Sunday, I have a final score of Kansas City Chiefs 28 and the San Francisco 49ers 24. You guys all enjoy the last game of the season.
Hi Andy, thanks for inviting me onto the podcast to have my say on who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. Again, for me, there's only one team, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. I'm a huge Chiefs fan. I mean, yeah, as a neutral in this game, it pains me to pick this the Chiefs to lose, because that defense is spectacular, and as a huge Patrick Mahomes fan, I've been in awe what they've been able to do in the playoffs in a down year for them. But the Niners they're so good on paper, and they've been in the big game a couple of times now, or Kyle Shanahan's been in a big game a couple of times now, and I just feel like if they're ever going to win it, it'll be this year. They've got the best team they've had. I feel Brock Purdy's going to have a game. This is where he's already going to announce himself on the world stage. So I think the San Francisco 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl. And I think it'll be close. I think it's going to be a high-scoring Super Bowl. But the Niners just win and Shanahan finally gets his ring.
Hey guys, it's Lee Wakefield here from the Touchdown NFL Pod. We've just finished recording our preview for the game on Sunday. So we're ready. I just wanted to check in and give my 2 pence for the game. I really wanted you guys to watch out for the Shanhan versus Spagnuolo cat and mouse game. That's going to be something special. They both had a couple of weeks to cook things up in the lab, and I'm sure they'll be ready for each other. In terms of a game prediction, well, there's only one place to start, isn't there? Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is going to score a touchdown, isn't he? It's kind of obvious. The Chiefs would have been planning, Andy Reid again, who's going to be in the lab. He's going to be planning something. I think the Chiefs, the sort of team as well, that really going to lean into that storyline with him and Taylor Swift and draw up some crazy red zone play for him to score. I'd bet on Travis Kelce to score a touchdown and the Chiefs to go on and win. I'm going to go for a score of 24-20 in this one, and it'll be a pretty close game. Should be cat and mouse all the way over the field. So that'll be my shout. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully the 49ers bring it home as a Chargers fan. But that's my shout. So see you all next week.
Hi, I'm Olivia and I'm a New York Jets fan, and I think that the Super Bowl will be relatively low scoring and the Kansas City Chiefs will win 24-14.
Good evening, Andy. There is no betting against Patrick Mahomes on Sunday night. Unfortunately, it will be the Chiefs that win this Super Bowl. As good as Brock Purdy is, as good as the 49ers are offensively and probably better defensively as well, Mahomes, and I absolutely hate this phrase, is inevitable. The Chiefs will win the Super Bowl.